"We didn't order for you," my dad said, handing me bread while my brother enjoyed his $400 steak. His wife sneered, "Be grateful you're invited." I stayed silent. When the waiter came, I stood up and said, "Send the bill to the ones who ate." "Hey Reddit, I'm Damien, 35 male, and for the last 17 years, I've been my family's personal checking account." Yup, you heard that right, 17 freaking years. Grab your popcorn. This is gonna be long and chaotic. I work in pharmaceutical sales, territory manager for the Midwest region. The job pays embarrassingly well. Base salary around $95,000, plus commission and bonuses that can add another $40,000 to $50,000 in a good year. I drive a paid-off Honda, live in a modest two-bedroom apartment, and buy my furniture from estate sales. My coworkers think I'm cheap. My family thinks I'm broke. I never corrected either assumption. My brother Colby, 30 male, is the golden child, the success story, the one my parents brag about at every family gathering. He runs what he calls a digital marketing agency. From what I can tell, it's him and two freelancers creating Instagram ads for local businesses and charging them criminal amounts for basic services. But he's got an office in a trendy part of downtown Minneapolis, drives a leased Audi, and wears expensive watches that he forgets to take off in photos. Colby married Chloe 4 years ago. She's a real piece of work, former sorority president turned lifestyle influencer with 8,000 Instagram followers. Doesn't work. Just post pictures of herself drinking expensive coffee and talking about manifestation and abundance. My mom treats her like visiting royalty. They live in a renovated brownstone in Linden Hills with heated floors and one of those chef's kitchens. Their mortgage is over $3,200 a month. I know because I've covered it twice when Colby's business had cash flow issues. I was 11 when I figured out how things worked. Colby was 6, and my parents threw him this massive birthday party at a trampoline park, rented the whole place, hired a guy to dress up as Spider-Man, and had a custom cake. I asked my mom if I could bring my best friend Matt. She got this look on her face. Annoyed, like I'd asked for something unreasonable. She said, "Damien, today isn't about you. Don't be selfish." I stayed home. My dad handed me $15 and told me to order pizza. I remember sitting on the floor of our living room, eating alone, hearing my mom's voicemail fill up with messages from relatives telling her what an amazing party it was. Nobody mentioned I wasn't there. Nobody asked why. That became the blueprint. My college fund evaporated the year Colby wanted to go to a private high school with a lacrosse team. My graduation party got canceled because Colby had a playoff game. When I saved up and bought my first car, a used Civic I paid after working overnight shifts at a distribution warehouse, my dad actually got angry. Said I made him look bad. Said people would think he couldn't provide for his family. 3 months later, he bought Colby a used Jeep and told everyone he'd been saving for years to surprise him. I learned my role early. I wasn't the son you celebrated. When my parents needed $6,500 for emergency roof repairs, I sent a check. When Colby's wedding venue required a $12,000 deposit and he was short, I covered it. When Chloe's car got totaled and their insurance didn't cover the gap, I wired $2,800. When my dad's medical bills from a minor surgery piled up, I paid them $4,200. Nobody thanked me. Nobody asked how I managed it. My dad would take credit, shaking hands at church and accepting compliments about being such a provider. Colby would post pictures of his life on social media, talking about hard work and blessings. Chloe would tag my mom in photos of expensive brunches, thanking her for being so generous. I became a ghost. My friend Evan would tell me I was getting used. We'd grab lunch every couple weeks, and I'd casually mention helping my family with something. He'd shake his head, call me a doormat, tell me they'd never stop taking as long as I kept giving. I'd change the subject, because part of me believed that if I just gave enough, eventually they'd see me. Eventually I'd matter. 17 years. That's how long I believed that lie. 4 months ago, my mom called. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I was wrapping up a meeting with a hospital administrator when my phone buzzed. She was using her cheerful voice. She said my dad wanted to take the whole family to dinner Saturday night. Said it was important. Said Colby and Chloe had exciting news to share. I already knew what that meant. I thought about saying no, but I knew what would happen. My mom would send paragraph-long texts about family being important. My dad would leave a voicemail calling me ungrateful. Colby would post something about how hard it is when people don't support your success. It was easier to just go. I said yes. Mom told me the details. Saturday, 7:30 p.m., someplace called Monarch Prime. I'd never heard of it. After we hung up, I looked it up. It was one of those steakhouses where businessmen take clients to close deals. Reservation only. Dress code strictly enforced. The menu wasn't even online, but the reviews mentioned entrees starting at $65 and steaks going north of $200. I knew exactly how this would play out. My dad would sit at the head of the table ordering the most expensive items, making toasts, playing the generous patriarch. Then, when the bill came, he'd catch my eye. That look. The one that said, "You've got this, right?" And I'd pay. Like always. While he accepted the praise, I called Evan that night, told him about the dinner. He laughed. In that way you laugh when someone tells you they're about to make the same mistake for the 100th time. He said, "How much do you think this one's gonna cost you?" I said, "Couple grand, probably." He said, "You know they're never gonna stop, right?" "Not as long as you keep paying." I said, "Yeah, I know." But I didn't know. Not really. Not yet. Saturday came around. I spent the morning at the gym, then grabbed lunch at this Vietnamese place I like, where you can get a massive bowl of pho for $8. Spent the afternoon catching up on work emails and watching college football. Around 6:45, I changed into dress pants and a button-down. I drove to Monarch Prime. The restaurant was in the North Loop, one of those converted warehouse buildings with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. I pulled up, handed my keys to a kid in a vest, and walked inside. The hostess was wearing all black and had the kind of posture they teach you in finishing school. I gave her my dad's name. She smiled and led me through the dining room. Everything was dark wood and leather, dim lighting, quiet conversations. The kind of place where the silence itself cost money. They'd reserved a corner table near the windows overlooking the city. I was the first one there. Sat down facing the door, ordered water, didn't touch the bread they brought out. My family arrived 15 minutes late. Together! My mom was wearing a dress I'd never seen. My dad had on a full suit. Colby and Chloe looked like they'd stepped out of a Neiman Marcus catalog. Colby's suit probably cost more than my rent. They walked past me toward the table. My mom was waving at someone across the room. My dad was scanning the restaurant. Colby was on his phone. Chloe was adjusting her hair. Nobody said hello. Nobody acknowledged I existed. They settled into their seats, shrugging off jackets, setting down purses. My mom leaned toward Chloe and whispered something that made them both laugh. Colby ordered a drink before looking at the menu. My dad flagged the waiter and started asking about the drink list. I sat there, hands folded, waiting for someone to notice me. The waiter came with drinks, poured them into 4 glasses. My parents, Colby's, Chloe's, skipped mine completely. My dad didn't notice. Then the menus arrived. Heavy leather-bound things with gold lettering. I opened mine and went straight to the prices. Appetizers were $28 to $55. Cheapest entree was $58 for chicken. There was a pasta for $48. I figured that was my best move. Filling enough, cheap enough not to draw attention. My dad leaned back without even opening his menu. That's when I knew he was going big. He said, "Order whatever you want. Tonight's special." I looked back at my menu, found the pasta again. That would work. The waiter came back, pen ready. My dad went first. Ordered the ribeye, the biggest one they had, with truffle butter and roasted bone marrow. My mom ordered scallops with caviar and lobster tail. Colby and Chloe rattled off their orders. The massive porterhouse, the filet, the whole lobster appetizer, extra sides. Then everyone looked at me. The waiter looked at me. I opened my mouth to order the pasta. My dad cut me off. He said, "Damien doesn't need much. He's trying to save money." He reached across the table, grabbed the bread basket. It was full of warm sourdough rolls with butter. He slid it toward me. The sound of the basket scraping against the tablecloth was loud in the sudden quiet. He said, "We didn't order enough for you anyway. This should be plenty." The table went silent. The kind that happens when someone gets humiliated in public. I stared at the bread basket. My mom looked down at her napkin. Colby smirked, glancing at Chloe. She had this satisfied little smile, like she was watching something entertaining. She said, "Honestly, you should be grateful your dad even invited you." The waiter stood frozen. His pen hadn't moved. He looked at me, then at my dad, trying to figure out if this was a joke. I shook my head slightly. He stepped back. I pulled the basket toward me, tore off a piece of bread, chewed it slowly. It tasted like nothing. My dad went back to talking. Something about a rental property investment. My mom asked Chloe about baby names. Apparently that was the big news they were expecting. Colby checked his phone, scrolling with one hand, drinking with the other. I ate another piece of bread. And another. The basket emptied. Nobody offered me anything else. The lobster came out. Colby and Chloe tore into it, cracking shells, commenting how good it was. My mom took photos. My dad poured more drinks. When the entrees arrived, the waiter placed massive plates in front of everyone except me. My dad's steak was the size of a small roast. Colby's porterhouse hung off the plate. Chloe cut into her fillet and went on about how it was the best thing she'd ever eaten. My mom ate her scallops with her eyes closed. I sat there with empty hands, watching them eat, thinking about numbers. The roof repair I'd paid for, Colby's wedding, my dad's surgery bills, my mom's credit card debt I'd cleared twice, Colby's mortgage payments, twice. The numbers added up in my head while they chewed $400 steaks, and I sat there with a breadbasket. Colby looked at me. You know, Damien, if you actually applied yourself, maybe you could afford to eat like an adult. Chloe laughed. Actually laughed? My mom smirked. My dad didn't even look up. I nodded, said nothing, just folded my hands and waited. Let them enjoy this as it lasts. Then dessert came. Some chocolate thing the size of a softball served with 4 spoons. They devoured it in minutes. I watched. When they finished, my dad patted his stomach. That was perfect. We need to do this more often. The waiter appeared, holding a small black leather folder. He walked past them all and stopped next to me. Placed it in front of me. I opened it. $3,184. I stared at the number. $3,184. For a meal I didn't eat. Then I stood up. The chair scraped loud enough that people at nearby tables looked over. I closed the folder, slid it across the table toward my father, looked at the waiter and said, "Give it to the people who actually ate." They all went dead silent. Then my mother asked, "Excuse me?" "Yeah, excuse you," I replied, then I walked away. I walked through the restaurant, past the bar, past the host stand, out the front doors into the October cold. My hands were steady. I felt calm. Weirdly, impossibly calm. Like I'd been holding my breath for 17 years, and finally exhaled. Got to my car and sat behind the wheel. Didn't start the engine. Just sat there in the parking garage for a minute. Inside, I knew what was happening. The waiter was standing at the table holding that bill. My dad was staring at the total, face going red. My mom was looking around nervously, worried about what people were thinking. Colby was probably fumbling for his wallet, realizing his credit card wouldn't cover half of this. My phone started buzzing. Text from Mom. "Get back here right now." Dad. "Don't you dare humiliate us like this. Fix this immediately." Colby. "Are you kidding me?" "You're embarrassing us." Chloe. "You're pathetic. Grow up and pay the bill." I read each one. Let them sit there on my screen. Then I opened my contacts and blocked them all. Each one of them. Click, click, click. I started the car. Drove home slowly, taking the long route through downtown, past the river, past the old neighborhoods. No rush. Nobody waiting. Nobody calling me. I parked at my building, walked up 3 flights of stairs. I stepped inside and sat on my couch in the dim light. For 17 years, I'd believed that staying quiet was the same as keeping peace. That paying for their meals, their bills, their emergencies was what family required. That if I just gave enough, eventually they'd see me. That I'd feel I'm good enough. But sitting there with that bread basket in front of me while those bastards ate $400 steaks, I finally understood. Years of pent-up guilt and patience finally snapped. I was never their son or their brother. So I opened my banking app, started scrolling through automatic payments I'd set up over the years. Dad's yacht club membership, $385 a month. Colby's business loan payment, $850 a month. Mom's spa membership, $175 a month. Parents' timeshare in Scottsdale, $625 a month. I canceled every single one. Each confirmation felt like another weightlifting. Moved to my credit cards. Found authorized users. Colby was on 2 cards, Dad on 1, Mom on another. Removed them all. Locked the accounts, changed every password. Then I opened my email. Searched for invoice, receipt, payment. Years of history appeared. I'd paid for trips I wasn't invited on. Birthdays I never attended. Renovations on houses where I'd never been welcome. Created a folder. Evidence. Started moving everything in. Then I went deeper. I pulled up pending charges on my credit cards. Found 6 I hadn't authorized. Chloe at Saks Fifth Avenue, 2 days before the dinner. Colby at a golf club pro shop. Mom at Nordstrom. Dad at a luxury car detail shop. 2 more from Colby's business account. $2,400 total for marketing expenses. I disputed every single one. Filed fraud reports. The bank sent confirmations within minutes. The charges would be reversed. They'd all get notifications. Perfect. I searched my email for recurring payments. Found the Scottsdale timeshare. My parents used it 3 weeks a year. I'd been paying the monthly fee for 6 years. The next payment was in 5 days. Called the company. Canceled it. They refunded my deposit, found another invoice. Colby's business loan. He'd taken out $38,000 to expand 2 years ago. I'd been covering the monthly payment ever since because he said he'd pay me back when things stabilized. They never did. Called the bank. Explained I was no longer financially responsible. They updated the records. All future correspondence would go to Colby. By Sunday night, I'd canceled 15 recurring payments. Total monthly savings, $3,900. $3,900 I'd been sending every month to people who treated me like a stranger. Monday morning, I drafted an email to my extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, who'd probably start getting calls from my parents soon. I'm dealing with a personal matter and need space. Please don't contact me on behalf of my parents or Colby. I'll reach out when I'm ready. Sent it to 22 people. Then set up email filters. Anything containing my parents' names, Colby's name, or Chloe's name went straight to a folder I'd never check. I called Evan, told him everything. He was quiet for a second. Then he started laughing. Holy hell, Damien. You actually did it. I said, yeah, I did. He said, finally, man. Took you long enough. How do you feel? I thought about it. Free. Tuesday afternoon, they showed up at my building. I was heading out to grab lunch when I saw them in the lobby. All 4 of them. Standing near the F-Stant desk, talking to Stan, my building manager. Dad's voice was loud. This is a family emergency. We need to see him immediately. Mom had this worried look plastered on her face. Colby stood with his arms crossed, jaw tight. Chloe looked annoyed. I stopped just inside the hallway. Took a breath. Considered turning around. But no. This was my building. My home. They were the intruders. I walked forward. Stan saw me first. Mr. O'Brien, these folks say they're your family. They're asking for access to your unit. I looked at them. I don't want them in my building. Mom stepped forward. Damien, please. We just want to talk. I shook my head. No. Dad's face went red. This is ridiculous. You embarrassed us. You left us with a $3,000 bill we couldn't pay. You've been ignoring us. You owe us an explanation. I looked him dead in the eye. I don't owe you anything. Figure your shit out. Colby stepped closer. Don't you dare talk to your father like this. You need to grow up and fix this. I said, you are not my problem anymore, people. I am done with you. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Damien, how can you do this? What happened to you? And something inside me snapped. What happened to me? I said, apparently I am not letting you walk over me anymore. I've dealt with your BS for years. Helped all of you because I was stupid enough to think you saw me as a son. You don't. You see me as a wallet. Now that wallet is closed. Now get the hell out of here. They froze. Had the audacity to look hurt too. That's not true. Dad said. I cut him off. Then why did you hand me a bread basket while everyone else ate $400 steaks? Why did Chloe tell me I should be grateful you even invited me? Why have I been paying for your lives for years while you never even say thank you? The lobby went dead silent. Stan shifted uncomfortably. A couple residents walked through, trying not to stare. I canceled the payments. All of them. Removed you from my credit cards. Disputed the charges you made without asking. I'm done. Now again, sort your shit out and leave me alone. You can't do that, he yelled. You don't get to cut us off like this. I smiled. I just did. Sue me. Colby's voice went sharp. You're gonna regret this, Damien. I looked at him. I'm really not. Turned to Stan. Please make sure they leave. He nodded. Stepped toward my family. You folks need to go. I walked past them. Out the front door. I heard my dad shout my name. Didn't stop. Got in my car, drove away. I didn't look back once. That night, I did the math. Pulled up every receipt, every bank statement, every invoice going back 17 years, built a spreadsheet. When I finished, the number made my jaw drop. $284,000 I'd given them over 17 years. That was a house. That was retirement money. I broke it down. The spreadsheet was 14 pages long when I printed it. Over the next week, I watched the fallout through email. Everything went to that filtered folder, but I checked it once, just to see. Dad's yacht club sent a suspension notice. Membership terminated for non-payment. He had 30 days to settle the balance or lose access permanently. The Scottsdale timeshare company charged the $1,900 cancellation fee to Dad's credit card. He'd have to pay it or face collections. The bank sent Colby a notice about his business loan. First missed payment. If he didn't catch up within 15 days, they'd start default proceedings. One by one, the luxuries I'd been funding disappeared. My uncle sent an email. Said Dad was struggling financially. Said mom was devastated. Said I should reconsider because family forgives. I didn't respond. A cousin messaged me on Facebook. Said I was tearing the family apart. Said I was being cruel over one dinner. I blocked her. But they weren't done. These people know nothing about boundaries, and honestly, it was all my fault from the beginning. They went way too far. 2 weeks after the dinner, I came home from work to find my car keyed. Deep scratches down both sides, from headlight to taillight. The word JERK carved into the driver's side door. I stood there in the parking garage, took photos from every angle, filed a police report. The cop who showed up said, unless I had camera footage or witnesses, they probably couldn't do much. I knew who did it. Couldn't prove it, but I knew. 3 days later, someone slashed 2 of my tires. I installed a dash cam that night. Front and rear facing, motion activated. It cost me $400, but it was worth it. The next incident was my apartment. I came home to find paint splattered across my door. Red paint dripping down to the carpet. The word traitor in sloppy letters. Stan, the building manager, was angry. Reviewed the hallway cameras. The footage showed a figure in a hoodie and mask, but you couldn't make out a face. It happened at 2 a.m. when nobody was around. I filed another police report. The cop, same one from before, started looking more interested. Said it was clearly targeted harassment. Asked if I had any idea who might be doing this. I told him about my family, about the dinner, about cutting them off. He took notes. Said I should consider documenting everything and maybe looking into a restraining order if it continued. And it did. Someone called my office pretending to be a client, made a formal complaint about me. Complete fabrication. Said I'd mishandled their account, lost them money. My boss called me in, concerned. I explained the situation, showed him the police reports, the pattern of harassment. He believed me, but I could tell he was worried. Then they went after my reputation. Someone created a fake Facebook profile using my name and photo. Started posting bizarre rants about how I'd abandoned my sick mother, stole from my brother's business, and refused to help my family in their time of need. Friends started texting me, asking if I was okay. I reported the profile. Facebook took it down after 3 days, but the damage was done. I called Evan, told him everything that was happening. He said, "Dude, you need to lawyer up. These people are insane." He gave me the number for his attorney, a woman named Julia, who specialized in family law and restraining orders. I called her the next day. We met at her office downtown. I brought everything. The spreadsheet showing $284,000 in payments. The police reports. The whole thing. She looked through everything carefully. Then she said, "Damien, this is pretty clear-cut harassment. We can file for a restraining order. But I want you to understand, this is going to make things worse before they get better. Are you ready for that?" "I'm ready," she nodded. "Good. Let's make them face consequences." We filed for restraining orders against all 4 of them. The petitions were comprehensive, detailed every incident, attached all the evidence, police reports, photos, the spreadsheet showing financial exploitation, screenshots of threatening messages from extended family members that referenced conversations with my parents. The court date was set for 3 weeks out. In the meantime, things got worse. Someone spray-painted my apartment building's exterior wall. Giant letters. "Damien O'Brien is a thief." Stan was furious. Building security footage caught a dark SUV pulling up at 3 a.m., someone getting out, doing the damage, then leaving. The plates were obscured with mud. But I knew that SUV. Colby drove a dark blue Audi Q7. I sent the footage to Julia and the police. Then Chloe made a mistake. She posted on her Instagram story. It was a photo of the vandalism on my building with the caption, "When karma comes for people who abandon family." I screenshot it before it disappeared. Sent it to Julia. She smiled when she saw it. They're making this too easy. The harassment continued. Someone filed a false report with my HOA, claiming I was running an illegal business from my apartment. The HOA board investigated, found nothing, but I had to attend a hearing and defend myself. Someone left a dead rat on my doormat. I took photos, filed another police report. Then Colby showed up at my office. I was in a meeting with a hospital purchasing director when my assistant knocked on the door, looking uncomfortable. She said someone named Colby O'Brien was in the lobby demanding to see me, claiming it was a family emergency. I excused myself from the meeting, walked out to the lobby. Colby was standing there in jeans and a wrinkled button-down, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His usually perfect hair was messy. He saw me and his face twisted. "We need to talk," I said. "No, we don't." He stepped closer. "You're destroying this family. Mom's on anxiety medication because of you. Dad had to sell his boat. My business is failing because you pulled the loan payment. Chloe is pregnant and stressed out of her mind. That's not my problem. His voice got louder. You owe us, Damien. I don't owe you shit. You need to leave? Now. Or what? I pulled out my phone. Started recording. Or I call the police and add another incident to the restraining order petition. His face went pale. He looked at the phone, then at me. You're really doing this. You did this. All of you. Now leave. He turned and walked out. I watched him get in his SUV, the same one from the security footage, and peel out of the parking lot. I sent the video to Julia immediately. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was my mom, crying. Damien, please, your father had to take out a loan. We need help. We need you. I said, no, Mom, move on. I am not your bank anymore. That's not fair, I said. You let Colby and Chloe mock me. You've used me for 17 years and never once asked how I was doing. Now you're vandalizing my property and harassing me at work. And you want to talk about fair? She was quiet for a long moment. If you don't help us, we're going to lose the house. Then you'll lose the house. How can you be so cruel? I learned from the best, I said. Then I hung up and blocked the number. The court date arrived, and it was beautiful. The courthouse was cold and impersonal. Julia met me in the hallway outside the courtroom. She was carrying 2 briefcases full of evidence. She said, they're here, all 4 of them. They've got a lawyer too, guy named Preston Ward. He's going to try to paint you as vindictive and financially controlling. But don't worry, we're going to bury him. We walked into the courtroom. My family was sitting on the other side with their attorney, middle-aged guy in an expensive suit, looking confident. The judge was a woman in her 60s. She had a reputation for not tolerating nonsense. The hearing started. Preston Ward went first, trying to paint me as this controlling son who'd financially manipulated my family for years, then suddenly cut them off without warning. He claimed the vandalism was unproven, that the fake Facebook profile could have been created by anyone, and that my family just wanted to reconcile. Then Julia stood up and destroyed them. She walked the judge through the entire spreadsheet, $284,000 in payments over 17 years. Showed documentation of the dinner at Monarch Prime, where I'd been handed a bread basket while they ordered over $3,000 worth of food. Showed the immediate harassment that started the moment I cut them off financially. The keyed car, the slashed tires, the vandalism, the fake social media, the dead rat, Colby showing up at my workplace. She presented the security footage showing Colby's SUV at my building the night someone spray-painted the exterior. Showed Chloe's Instagram story celebrating the vandalism with that smug caption about karma. Then came the financial records. Every unauthorized credit card charge, every canceled payment, every disputed transaction. Preston Ward tried objecting, claiming financial history wasn't relevant to a harassment case. The judge shut him down immediately and told him she'd decide what was relevant. Julia kept going. Proved Colby had filed false complaints. The HOA report, the fake client complaint at my work, showed how the harassment had escalated over 5 weeks in a clear pattern of retaliation. Then she played the video of Colby at my office, getting in my face, threatening me. When she finished, the judge sat there for a moment, looking at my family with this expression of complete disgust. My dad couldn't keep his mouth shut. Preston Ward tried to stop him, but Dad stood up and launched into this whole speech about how he'd raised me, given me everything, and now I was abandoning the family over one dinner, one mistake. He actually said that. The judge let him talk for about 30 seconds before cutting him off. Asked him point blank if he'd handed me a bread basket while everyone else ate expensive steaks. He stammered and tried to call it a misunderstanding. She asked if I'd paid for the dinner. He admitted I hadn't, that they'd had to cover it themselves after I left. Then, she pulled out the financial documentation, showing the $284,000 I'd paid over the years, and asked if that was accurate. Dad's face went red. Started backpedaling, saying I'd offered to help, and they'd never forced me to pay for anything. She flipped through the evidence one more time, then looked up. Her voice was ice cold when she announced she was granting the restraining order. All 4 of them were prohibited from contacting me directly or indirectly. They couldn't come within 500 feet of my home, my workplace, or my vehicle. The order would stay in effect for 2 years. My mom started crying. Dad looked like he'd been slapped. Colby's face twisted with rage. Chloe stared at the floor. And here's the better part. The judge added that she was ordering them to pay restitution for property damage. Said we'd submit an itemized list and the court would review it to determine the final amount. The hearing was over. Julia turned to me, smiling. That went well. I nodded. Honestly, I just felt tired. We walked out of the courtroom. My family was in the hallway, huddled with Preston Ward. My dad saw me, started to say something. Julia stepped between us. Don't. You're under a court order now. Walk away. They walked away. Julia and I stood there for a moment. She asked, Are you okay? I'm great, I replied. She nodded. Now comes the fun part. We make them pay for what they did. The restitution hearing was set for 6 weeks later. In the meantime, Julia hired a forensic accountant to go through everything. Every vandalism incident, every property damage claim, every provable expense related to their harassment. The accountant was a guy named Tom Rogers. Looked like someone's dad, but had the predatory instincts of a shark. He went through my records like he was investigating financial fraud. He calculated car repair for keying and tire slashing, building exterior cleaning and repainting, door replacement and hallway carpet cleaning, dash cam installation, security system upgrade for my apartment, lost wages from missing work for police reports and court appearances, legal fees, emotional distress. He said we could argue this. Total, $20,750. But Tom said we should go bigger. He said we could include the fraudulent credit card charges they'd made before I cut them off, the ones I'd disputed. That added another $5,690. And he said we could argue for punitive damages based on the pattern of harassment. Julia agreed. We submitted a claim for $32,000. My family's lawyer tried to fight it, claimed the amounts were inflated, claimed emotional distress wasn't quantifiable, and that I was trying to financially ruin them. The hearing was in front of the same judge. Tom testified first, walked the judge through every single expense, line by line, showed receipts for everything, showed police reports that matched up with the dates. Everything. Preston Ward tried poking holes during cross-examination. Tom didn't budge. Had documentation for everything. Then Julia called me to the stand. I walked through the whole story. 17 years of being the family ATM, the dinner, the harassment that followed when I finally said no. Talked about how it affected my work, my mental health, and my ability to feel safe in my own home. Then Colby took the stand. Preston had advised against it. You could see it on his face, but Colby insisted. Got up there and immediately started this rant about how I'd always been jealous of him, how I couldn't handle that he was more successful, how I'd manipulated our parents into thinking I was the victim. Julia just let him hang himself with his own words for a solid 5 minutes. Then she asked one simple question. Did you vandalize your brother's property? No, I didn't. Julia showed the security footage. Is that your vehicle? Colby froze. It looks like mine, but I let someone borrow it that night. What friend? I don't remember. Right. When testimony wrapped, the judge didn't waste time deliberating. She announced she was awarding me $24,000 in damages and restitution. The amount covered documented property damage, lost wages, legal fees, and emotional distress. The four of them would split it equally, $6,000 each. Payment due within 90 days, or she'd authorize wage garnishment. My dad jumped up, started protesting that they couldn't afford it. The judge shut it down, gavel down, done. I walked out of that courthouse with Julia beside me. She smiled. They're going to have to sell things. Downsize. Actually face consequences for once. I nodded. Good. 3 months later, I got a check in the mail. $24,000. Certified check from an attorney's trust account. They'd paid. I deposited it, then I took half of it and donated it to a financial literacy nonprofit that helps young people learn about budgeting and avoiding toxic financial relationships. The other half I kept. Used some of it to take a 2-week trip to Japan, something I'd always wanted to do, but never did. I didn't post about it on social media. Didn't tell anyone except Evan. Just went. Ate incredible food. Saw temples. Walked through cities where nobody knew me. When I got back, my apartment felt different. Lighter. The restraining order was still in effect. Nobody had contacted me. Nobody had violated it. I changed my phone number just to be safe. Told Evan and a few close friends. Nobody else. At work, things improved. My boss had been supportive through everything, and I'd worked hard to prove the drama wouldn't affect my performance. I finished the year 15% over quota. Got a bonus. Life moved forward. I still think about that night at Monarch Prime sometimes. The breadbasket, the look on their faces when I walked away from that bill, the panic they must have felt. But mostly I think about the moment in my car afterward, sitting in the dark parking garage, blocking their numbers one by one, the quiet that followed. That was the moment I chose myself. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.